the first audition was so crazy. Like, my life changed upside down, like, overnight. Like, the next day after that, you should have seen like the followers. I mean, I refreshed my page and it was just like, like it went up like by thousands. It was crazy. And that's the beginning of like music as a career for me.
Mergui, welcome to From Vision to Creation. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us today.
Hell yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm really excited that you're here, Mergui, because you have an incredible story. Your music has already been streamed millions of times. You've opened for some of the biggest artists in the world. And the craziest part to me is that this is still quite literally the very beginning for you and your career. But what stands out to me about your story more than anything, Mergui, is not the success, but the self-discovery that shaped it and the courage that you've had when making really big, life-changing decisions to pursue your passion. From growing up in Israel, with a normal life, to then navigating sudden fame at age 17, you had to figure out who it was that you were when the whole world was watching. And I feel that self-discovery, even when you're anonymous, is hard enough. So I can't imagine the added pressure of an audience, especially back at that time during those early formative years. But what impresses me the most is that throughout your career, you've used music to answer that question of, who am I, while also remaining grounded. So today, I'm really excited to just slow things down a little bit, revisit the moments that shaped you, and talk about the learning lessons you've learned along the way.
Sounds awesome. I mean, I can't wait to try and answer and maybe learn something myself. I'm just like, I rolled with it, and I think I learned a lot of stuff during the way, but I can't say I knew exactly what I'm doing. It felt like things were happening to me as well as me making things happen at the same time. It was just like, but yeah, what do you want to start with?
Well, before we dive into your story, I want to ask you, how are you feeling right now in this moment, both personally and creatively, as you're on the edge of turning 26?
Yeah. Wow. I'm going to be old.
Oh, please.
I feel very, very excited, I think, for this year. Like you said, I feel like it's been such a journey. So many things happened already in my career, but at the same time, it does feel like it's just the beginning, and I'm kind of like just forming my story and my musical identity still. Like, I'm still going to the studio right now. We're speaking just right after I just landed. I had a trip home like for a month, and then I just landed here again, and I'm starting to go to the studio more now and create the music that I'm gonna release this year. So it feels like I'm just creating something new, and I'm always like defining like, who is Mergui, I don't know if I can say 100% that I know who Mergui is. I just know some of the things that I care about and my values, I would say. But I do change a lot all the time, from the stuff I like, from fashion to different types of music to like that all changes so much for me from month to month. Like, I can't say like I'm the same Mergui I was like not even a year ago, like a few months ago. So I learn myself like who I am all the time, and I'm just trying to channel that to the audience, like in real time, all the time, as much as I can. So I'm excited for this year more than anything.
Well, that's one thing that I find really fascinating about being a musician in general, because if you're going to make great music, you have to be in touch with who it is that you are, and you constantly have to be digging deep. Whereas in other professions, you can kind of just show up and wing it, but you can't just show up and be creative without doing that inner work that you're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, being a musician, it's not just like going to a factory and doing something very specific. It's like you're working with your soul. So it's very intimate with yourself. It's like very, and it could be very draining sometimes too, because of that, because you're dealing with the question of like, who am I all the time? Or like, what do I love? Or what inspire me and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm definitely there. Sometimes it's more clear to me what I want to do, sometimes less. But I think I try to learn not to be stressed about it too much, because I think it kills creativity if I do.
And Mergui, I want to go all the way back for a second. So
let's do it. Yeah.
You were raised in Tel Aviv.
Yes.
How do you feel that your cultural upbringing shaped the way that you experience, feel, and now make music?
Well, in so many ways. I think, first of all, my mom's a singer. So that's one thing. And my dad used to do music too. He's a branding expert now, for a long time now. But we used to sing, songs while he was playing the guitar, just sitting on the couch all together. And so music was definitely part of who I am from ever since I remember myself, basically. So that's one thing. And then the fact that when I say they, I mean my parents, helped me fulfill my dreams, and they just gave me the tools. Like, for example, they helped me build like a little bedroom studio. So that's where everything when it comes to music for me started. Like I just explored so many different ideas or things that inspired me. And I used to make covers and, or play the piano and learn to produce and record myself. And, I created my world with music. I just tried things out. I didn't know anything back then, but that was where I started to shape like my sound and like who I am and the things I liked. So I think more than everything, when you say like what shaped me when I grew up, I think of these two things, like the fact that my family was very musical and music was just part of like growing up, and this little bedroom studio, this changed everything for me. Like, this is where I started everything.
Well, one thing that I find very interesting about your story is that, yes, you came from a household that was musically inclined, but your parents also gave you a choice at one point, and they said, is this something you really want to pursue? And this came after your home studio, I'm assuming. Is that right?
Somewhere around that time. Like, I remember where I'm from, you can choose to, it's like for high school, there's like, you can go to just a regular high school or like arts school. And then you can decide if you want to do music or, any other arts, like dance or like whatever. And for me, it was a little bit of a drive if I decided to go to the art school, like every morning and then back. But I remember that was a moment where they asked me, like, where do you want to go for high school? Like, you want to go to art school to learn music? Because then we know you love it. So if you want to do it, you can have the decision now, or you want to go somewhere else, and that's perfectly okay. They never pushed me to do anything. Like, they wanted me to do whatever makes me feel good. Like I remember that was a big thing. Like um, from both my mom and my dad, like they always there was they were the biggest supporters for me, but they never said like we think you should do one thing versus the other. Like there was just like letting me find my thing and what inspired me the most. And I used to be a soccer player for a second. Then I decided to dump that and just go dancing, or I did so many different things, and I changed all the time, and they always supported me. So I remember that moment around that time where I had the bedroom studio, and they saw that I loved music, so they asked me, "Do you want to go to art school?" And I decided to do it, and it was one of the best decisions I think I made, because I made my best friends there, group of friends that still know me till this day, even when I became famous in Israel. Like I already knew them, so they were some sort of like a safe space for me, because they knew me before. So that decision was good in so many different angles for me.
And I want to circle back to the soccer. You're playing soccer for a second, because at age 13, you made the decision that you were going to move on from soccer because you were being called into a different direction. What was it in you at that moment? And I know this was a long time ago, but I'm fascinated by this because I feel like people that feel called to pursue a passion and feel strongly called, enough to where they actually do something about it, there is that defining moment sometimes where you think, okay, in your case, maybe with soccer, like, this is not who I am. Now I want to go pursue something else. Do you remember what it was that kind of helped you make that decision?
I don't remember what it was. I remember a feeling, though. Like I remember the feeling of, and I'm kind of jealous of that little boy now, because he had something that, as you get older, you lose a little bit, and it's a practice to keep, but it's that naive intuition. I don't know how to call it, but like just not thinking too much about everything and just like following your gut truly. And so I remember that feeling of like just me telling myself like, this is not what I seeing myself doing. Like I was a huge fan of like Messi and like just soccer in general, but I didn't see myself become Messi or just a huge soccer player. Like I couldn't see myself do that. I was very inspired by like I don't know, a dancing movie that I saw, where I saw just people breakdance. And I thought, oh, that's so cool. I want to do that. So that's what I did. It was so simple. And still so not simple when you grow up to just like decide to shift like this. But I think I to a certain extent, I kept that part in my personality until now, when and I know we'll get to that later, but just me moving to the US, starting a new career, even though I had my career over there, it's part of the same thing. It's like having, I don't even know how I have that, but like having the courage to risk everything and just do something that feels like the right thing for some reason.
I want to really touch on your commute to the art school, because I know that you had to take the bus 2.5 hours each way.
Yeah.
Which I think that speaks a lot to your passion and to who you are, because the easier thing would have been to just go to the high school where all your friends were, where you're not having to drive hours each way. I feel like it almost should have been easier for you in a sense to not study music.
Yeah.
But
of course,
in a sense, though, because obviously it's your passion, so it would have been harder in that way, like not pursuing it. But if you could go back to the young kid who was getting on the bus to go to art school for the first time, totally an unknown situation, what would you tell yourself right when you sat down to do that commute for the first time?
You're gonna have the best time, and remember to enjoy it, I guess. There's so many things I would tell him, but I think there's doubt in many moments when you do stuff like that, when you decide to just do something that might seem very big or risky, but it's worth it. I mean, it's worth it when it's like when it's what your heart wants you to do. I know it sounds very cliche, but I mean, like you said, in a way, it would have been easier if I stayed or if I didn't do this like 2-hour drive. But in a way, it also wouldn't, because I wouldn't fulfill my potential, or so I would feel very, I don't know how I would feel, but I think it's kind of like I have to do that. Like I have to, like, if I compare, if I do the comparison again from like going to art school and moving here to the US, it's the same thing. It's like I kind of feel like I have to. It's my dream. It's my dream to bring my music everywhere in the world and make it, worldwide. And I can't imagine a life or a situation where it doesn't happen. So not doing that would feel like there's a missing piece of the puzzle always,
Yes. And actually, I should clarify, because it's true, it would have been easier for you in that moment to not do it, but much harder long term,
Exactly.
Of course. To get into this art school, you had to audition. Was that your first audition for music ever?
I could say that. I never thought of it that way, but yeah.
Do you feel that you learned anything new about yourself or your passion when you auditioned for that very first time?
I'm not sure, but I remember the validation. Like I remember them loving, my audition, like just like blown away by how I sang. And I remember like people loved how I sang always when I was singing, like in school or like in little events that I was. I mean, even sometimes when my mom was inviting some friends over and they would play, and like I would sing with them, and I remember seeing like how people love how I sing, but this was something else. When out of like, I don't know, like 100 students that wanted to get approved for the school, like it was a no-brainer for them that I'm there. Like it was very validating. So I think that's the only thing. But I just did me. I picked the song. I don't remember what song. I think it was like a Bruno Mars song, maybe. But I just picked the song that I liked, and when I was in Berlin, I think it was, and I just sang it. So for me, I did the same thing, but I remember the validation was cool.
Which is huge, because I feel that especially with something like singing, I feel like most people kind of keep it to themselves a little bit. And then suddenly when other people hear you sing and they're like, whoa, hey, you're actually really good. It kind of, especially if it's your passion, I feel like, yeah, that validation's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. And I think this was when I was 16, I think, or 17. No, 16. 16. And so it's right around the time where I think I really, really shaped like what type of music I love and what artist and like what vibe I'm bringing. And so being there surrounded by music and learning like classical music theory, or like having so many like jazz musicians in my classroom, and like just being surrounded by different types of music, I think helped me narrow down like what I love and what not, and stuff like that. Yeah, and just developing my ear, I guess.
So that was 16. And then at 17, shortly after that, I heard a story about how your dad sent a cover that you did
Yeah.
for How Far I'll Go around to producers without your even knowing.
Yeah.
And then that's when you got a call from a producer saying that they wanted you to be on The Next Star. Can you tell that story? Because I think that's so cool that your dad did that. Like, it was like, hey, my son, he has what it takes. I want to get his, I want to get his voice out there. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, I like I told you, I just played around with like covers in my studio, my bedroom studio, and How Far I'll Go was one of the interesting covers that I did. Like, I just loved that song from Moana, the movie, the Disney movie. And I did this cover, and I genuinely just like loved sending, the stuff that I made to my family and friends, and just, being the kid I was, just like, check that out. I made that today. And, and I remember that one particular being like something that people loved, and my dad loved it. And he did the branding for a company that he thought that he knew that the manager of the company knew another person. It's like somebody knew somebody. So he thought if he sent this to his friend, maybe he'll play it to another person. I mean, it ended up being true.
Yeah.
And he was right. But like, he just thought that could be cool. So he did that, and it got to one of the biggest TV production companies, and they also did music and artists, some sort of a label. We don't really have labels over there. We do have a few, but it's mostly just managers and artists and stuff like that. So they were one of the only like labels or something like that. And they just loved it. They wanted to sign me. They wanted to be a part of it. And they had this TV show that, I mean, was the biggest and still the biggest there. You said The Next Star. Yeah, The Next Star is, in translation, yeah, it's like our American Idol or X Factor or whatever. Except the winner goes and to represent, Israel, the Eurovision. That's the prize if you win. They almost had everybody booked for the show, but they were able to squeeze me last minute. They brought me for an audition, and they were like, "Oh, if you pass the audition, maybe that would be a cool way to start, because nobody knows you yet." And it was life-changing. I didn't even know what I'm getting into completely, but I made the decision to take the risk again, and it was worth it. Like the first audition was so crazy. Like my life changed upside down. Like overnight. Like the next day after that, you should have seen like the followers. I mean, I refreshed my page, and it was just like, it went up like by thousands. It was crazy. And that's the beginning of like music as a career for me. From then on, like it was something else, and I started like my career, like just pursuing music more than just liking it and making it for me. Now it's for everybody else, and I started this journey. A lot has happened since then, but yeah, but that was the beginning.
We don't really hear about like the internal, struggles and internal wins that you experience when you're doing a show like that, because you made it all the way to second place. How are you coping with navigating, your passion while auditioning at the show?
It's a good question. I don't know how I did that. It's rare. I mean, I look back and I go like, wow, that's so stressful. It's a competition. I don't know, tying music in competition for me today, when I look at it, I'm like, what the fuck? It's crazy. But somehow I just focused on the art and like what I want to do on the next episode, or like what I want to do for the next performance. And even on the first audition, if you look at it, I did that like I think a year ago. We looked at it, me and some friends, and we you can see how like the world around me just like it feels like there's an explosion behind me. Like everybody's so excited about everything, and in this format also the screen goes up and reveals me if you pass the audition. So that happened, and it's like fireworks, and everybody's screaming, and there's explosions behind around me, but you can see how I'm focused on the notes and like just like the next line, or like just I'm like in my own world in a way. And I think that's some sort of like analogy for the rest of the show also, and like or the rest of my career, to be honest. Like I'm trying as much as I can not to let the outside comments or like all the everything that people has to say be part of like my decisions. I'm trying to do actually the opposite, or like just to focus on what I really want to do in music and art and what I passionate about, and not let any of the other things interfere. So yeah, you can really see that on that first audition, how I just focused on the melodies and my singing.
And a lot of the things that you just touched on are part of the many reasons that I have so much respect for musicians in particular, because like we discussed earlier, you have to be able to really dig deep down and figure out who it is that you are, so that you can make, music that's the truest to you, that feels the most authentic to you. Also, I think as human beings, we're all inherently worried about being judged or misperceived. And you, at 17 years old, went onto a stage to be judged. And that's what it takes. You have to be fearless in that aspect in order to get to a place where people are going to take you seriously, and then you can build a career. And whether that's going on stage the way you did for a show, or just putting your music out on the internet for the first time, you have to take those risks.
Yeah.
So, and I also think that you're talking about how, you have explosions going on around you. I'm sure there's a lot going on in your mind about the situation that you're in, and yet you're locked in. When you feel like you're having a hard time locking in to that zone that you need to be in order to perform at your best, what do you do to get yourself there?
I don't think I've ever had a hard time getting in the zone when it comes to being on stage, particularly. Like other places in that world of making music, which has so many different things that I have to do. Like even like being here right now in this podcast with you is like another thing that I have to do, that I'm doing. Or maybe being in a studio creating the music is another thing, or so many different layers to being a musician. But like the part of like being on stage always felt to me like where I can be present. To me specifically, like I don't know if it's like because I'm a very like I'm an overthinker and a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would like I think about something like so much, and I mean analyze every aspect of it, and when I'm on stage it's not like this. Like before I go on stage, yeah, I would check every detail and make sure that the players are doing exactly what I want them to do, and the production is this and that, and like the lights are this and that, or like, you know, I would make sure it's like it's exactly like my vision. But when I'm on stage, it's it's just I'm present, and I'm there, and I'm like just like I'm yeah, I'm letting it be what it is. And you know, obviously dealing with situations, if like you know, I had so many situations where like things doesn't go the way you want it to go, and you just like have to improvise and stuff like that. But that also, it never felt to me like super hard, because I mean, when I'm there, it's like the ultimate, like it's everything that Mergui is, the way that I see it. Like on stage, I'm like able to be to put everything that I love in one place. It's like fashion, dancing, music, my personality. Like I think I'm able to bring a full picture of like me on there. So it's very, I'm in flow state when I'm there.
We were just talking about how you're still just at the beginning of your career because you're so young and you've already done so much, but you've already almost been doing it for a decade now. So you have a lot of insight.
That's crazy.
But so you have a lot of insight into the industry, into the craft, and what it is to actually pursue music and be a working musician. How do you feel your perspective on your craft, success, that flow state you're talking about has changed from when you started to now?
Even making music, or what I want to make, or like, is it okay to make, you know, this type of music or that type of music, or is it okay to do, I don't know, this thing or that thing? Like, I mean, there's so many things that you hear around you when you just like in this industry. Like, there's so many different opinions, and people will tell you, oh, you need to, I mean, you need to put your face on the cover art because this and this and that, and there's so many good reasons, and you need to I don't know, there's certain things you need to do in order to be where you want to be. And what I've learned is that nobody knows, and there's so many ways to achieve the same thing. There's not just one path to get to what you want to get, and it combined by so many different, yeah, it's just like so many things affects, you know, a result. So it's just like it's not like if you do something that way, it's the only way to get there. There's so many ways to get to where you want. And when it comes to me just feeling more comfortable to create what I want to create, is just, I think that really changed since the beginning. Like I always made music that I loved, and I always made music that I felt passionate about, and it's funny to look back and say, oh, I could do this and that differently. It's not, doesn't make any sense, but I can say today it's more personal, I think, and I think that's super cool, because now when I come here and I make music in English, and I'm presenting myself to the rest of the world and everybody else, I'm already in that place where I'm able to be that intimate with music, and like to show my personality, and like to tell my story through it, and so it's fun.
Your first EP, Dark Side of the Rainbow, you mentioned that originally it was a breakup story, but then you realized that it was actually more about you finding yourself. At what point did that shift happen for you?
Through making the songs, I think. Also, in real life, like, just time passed, and I've experienced more and more stuff, and so I was able to talk about it more, and like realize, like, it for what it is. Um, it's super interesting and weird. I don't know if I'll be able to explain it correctly, but like sometimes I write my future in a way. Like sometimes I write songs. I don't know, maybe it's subconscious or like something, but I write the reality that I'm gonna be experiencing
Oh,
soon.
interesting.
Um, so, and I didn't know that until I saw that happen one, once after the other. Like it's just like, and I think with Dark Side of the Rainbow, it happened. Some of the breakup songs I wrote when I was still in a relationship,
Oh, wow.
and maybe I felt something deep down. And I let it out through the song, and um, but yeah, but Dark Side of the Rainbow, I it will always be like very very close to my heart because it's like it's super. I think this is actually a very cool turning point of me writing more, you know, of my heart, on paper, and like just like um, sharing real stories and stuff through a project.
And when you're writing music, do you think that you're trying to understand your emotions or release them or a combination of the two, maybe?
I'm always trying to understand my emotions. I think. I mean, just because I'm curious. Just in general in life, I think. Uh, but then when I'm writing a song, it's like, yeah, I'm always making sure that like I understand what I'm writing about and like how I want to inspire people, help people. I don't know if help is like too big of a word for it, but I mean, it's not. Sometimes, I mean, I get so many messages along the years of like, you really, really saved me with like this and that song, or like you really helped me get through a very challenging period of time. It's like, I think that brings so much meaning to what I do. It's like it's much more than, I mean, I share my story through songs, and I'm not trying to do anything more than that. But um, but what happens in the end of the day is like people can really see their story in it. People can really relate to it, and it could do so much good that I don't even realize when I do it. So sometimes when I write the songs, I try to think about like, if I were somebody else, like would I relate to that? Like how would I relate to that? Or like, you know, it's very interesting to look at songs in a universal way. Like, um, is it can be interpreted in different ways, or is it just one thing?
Can you share a particular song that you wrote where you had to be the most vulnerable with yourself, even during the writing process, and what that was like for you?
I'm making music, so all the examples I have, or the things that I have in mind are like maybe sessions that I was just like letting myself share a story. For example, "Nothing Gold Can Stay" is a song that I released recently, and I remember in the session sharing like a story of like how I grew up and the house that we had before my parents divorced, and how like looking back, I wish I could appreciate the moments more. Just me and my brother running in the backyard and playing, and just like so many different moments that you don't appreciate when you're in them. Um, but there is a last time that you do this stuff, and you never know it when it happens. Like you never know the last time is the last time, basically. And looking back, and I mean, it's a little sad, but it's also um, encouraging because it's like there's so much to appreciate, and there's so much to um, be grateful for once you realize that. So, um, So that was just one thing that one session, and I remember that I was there was so many, but like it was very gratifying because I was very vulnerable with the people that I worked with, which is another thing. Like you have to pick the people that you feel comfortable with, and that you feel will get the best out of like you being vulnerable, so it doesn't go to waste.
Yes.
In quotation. Um, but I remember this session, for example, I was vulnerable and it was very gratifying because like hearing the end result, it's always surprising to me. I think I never get used to like hustling and like trying to get the verses sound the way they should sound, or at least the way that I envision them, or trying to get the message to come across at the chorus like in the best way, and like um and perfecting it, and trying to find a way to say something, and not being able to, and then finally there's an idea, and then we find a way to say it, and then we move on to the second verse, and we work around like everything, and in the end of the session there's a song that wasn't there before we got into the room, and it's always so crazy to me and surprising like how there is something out of nothing, and it's based on my story, and it's much better than it would have been if I wouldn't be like vulnerable and shared my story, because I think that's I don't know, it's so amazing that you share your, I mean, when it is that real and you share your story, so many people can relate to. I mean, when it makes you excited, I always say it'll make everybody else excited. But I really believe in that. But if I really feel something and and get excited about something, then I think that energy will pass along, and like other people will be able to be excited from that. Yeah, that's just one of the situations that I remember. But yeah, I just let myself be more and more vulnerable because I see that it brings the good results.
A lot of passion, a lot of vulnerability goes into making music. And so I feel like every song feels special to you in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're working on something like an album or an EP, I'm assuming you make 50 to 100 songs, which you then reduce to 5 to 10. Do you feel like when you're choosing the songs that are going to go onto an album or an EP, do you feel like you choose the songs, or do you feel like they choose you?
It's interesting. I just had this conversation with my manager this morning, to be honest. It's so your timing is it's interesting because I'm just working on a project right now. And what I'm used to, the way that I did it until now in so many different projects, both in Hebrew or English, is I always like almost picked a vibe that I wanted to go for, or something that inspired me. I was like, oh, I want to make an 80s like kind of like vibe of an EP. So I called like my friend who's a producer, and I was like, what do you think about making a project that sounds like this and that, and like that vibes, and like and he liked it, and we did it in Hebrew. And then here, like I had this like idea of like making a project full of interpolations and classical melodies from all times, and use them in a song, or like or the way that I used "Goodbye Yellow Brick Road" by Elton John in my song, and created "Cry," and like it was part of the same project. It's like and I had this vision of like this whole project being something that included a lot of like piano and strings. And so I had this one vibe that I wanted to go for, and I made a project out of that vibe. What's different now that I'm practicing. I don't know how to do that, to be honest, but I'm like trying to, is I'm trying to be less fixed minded about just one style or one genre that I want to go for, and just like write good songs that I enjoy, and then decide like what tells a story. So come from the music as opposed to a direction, and then write the music into the direction, just to write the music and then create a world from the music. It's the opposite of what I was doing so far. So I'm like just experimenting right now with just like, because naturally I'm a control freak when it comes to like how to, I'm gonna make a project right now, so I need to know what I'm gonna do, so to speak. But this time I'm just trying to, I don't know, enjoy the process as much as I can, and like really be inspired and love, making the songs, and hopefully it'll create the world by itself.
And your new single, 3 Tears, is amazing. And the music video is so much fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
What's the story behind that song?
Wow. I love that song.
I do too.
Yeah. I'm so excited that, it's finally going to be out, and everybody, it's not going to be mine anymore. It's like everybody's. It's crazy. 'Cause I spent almost a year with the song.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was amazing. I remember this session is one of the coolest sessions, because first of all, writing with them is something that I wanted to do in a while, and then it was so cool. I mean, I usually I'm in the sessions, I'm like more hands-on, and like I know what I want to say, and like I know exactly how I want this part to, and I kind of used people around me for like to help me say what I want to say or whatever. And this time it was different. This time Amy, with her being amazing as she is, we just started playing. Andrew started playing the guitar, and we just started throwing melodies, and lyrics flew immediately. And seeing her work also helped me step back a little bit and be like, oh, I can just, see, it was so fresh for me, to just be able to be a little bit from like above, and not like worrying about every lyric or every word. And yeah, it was so fire. I mean, we wrote more after that session, but this was the first time we met, and it was so cool. And I think the concept as well is like, I really like, I immediately I saw my life. I know of like, I could see so many situations where relationships with like some, I can imagine like some girls that, maybe used like being emotional inauthentically, and like just as part of like some sort of like manipulation or something.
Mm-hmm.
So like basically using tears to make you stay or something. And so immediately I was like, oh, I can, like, it inspired me to, and I shared that story with Amy when we wrote, and inspired more and more and more. And I don't know, it was just like such a cool session. I still remember it till this day. And everything else after that, sometimes you can't wrap your brain around like how to produce something and how to make it fit, and like sometimes it gets more and more complicated, and this time it wasn't. Like this, for this song, it was so clear from the beginning what it's gonna be, and it sounded so good right away. And so there's good energy in that song, I think. And for me, it's just like I wanted to make something like that where I sing fully, but also rap a little bit, and also like, you know, with the lyrics and everything, I share a story, and it's like everything together, and it's like, and it has that like live instruments, but it's also very cool with the synths and stuff, and it's just a lot of stuff that I love in one song. So I'm excited for that one.
Well, by the time this conversation is published, the song will be out. So
Hell
I'm
yeah.
going to include the link to the song in the episode notes. So everybody go check it out by clicking
Check it
below.
out.
And Mergui, what does success mean to you now versus what it did when you were first auditioning on the show at 17?
Wow. What a question. I think when I was auditioning, it was like 8 years or 9 years ago. I forget how many years, but I was very young. So I think the way that I saw success was more like just being on the biggest stage, or like having your song, being on number one, or like everybody loving me, or like the way that I saw success for me in music was just like very like that. And now it's not that it's 100% changed, but there's so many different things that was added to the mix, like making music with like people that I love and friends, and being able to have the freedom of choice, and like just so now I want to be able to be successful, so I can have the freedom of choice, and I can just like do whatever I want, and just like go on vacation with my family and write music in the middle, and like just like so I can just like do so I can experience life more. But it wasn't used to be like that. Like it used to be just about like just results or like goals and stuff, and now it's more about the journey, and like being able to enjoy it. And for me, that's real success, like being able to really see when something is exciting, and be excited when it's happening, and not only looking back and being like, oh, this was very cool back then, but I wasn't able to really feel it. So for me, yeah, doing it with so many good people around me and stuff like that, it's like I used to take that for granted. Now not anymore. And that's why I consider myself successful right now, because of many things, but more than everything, because of like the circle that I built over the years around me. So many amazing people, so many amazing opportunities, and yeah, it's couldn't get better when it comes to that.
And Mergui, what is a lesson that fame has taught you that nothing else could have?
That it's like being who I am without like caring about what other people has to say. I think being exposed to so many different comments, and like I don't know, the media and what they have to say, and like always like being maybe even like being in relationships under the public eye over there, for me was a big thing when it comes to that. Or wearing what I want to wear, even though people are gonna have comments about that. Like, I think that was like a big thing for me, because I because I do care what people have to say, but I learned over the years to be more, to not let that drive everything, or just to be who I am without apologizing at all, and hopefully inspire other people to to do the same, and feel the same, and be themselves. There's only good that can come out of it. But I think that happened with fame. Just learn to be myself, and the more I get people interested, the more I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna. Everybody has opinions, like I said before. It's just like that's fine, but I like this.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well, and I feel like one thing that a lot of people don't really talk about that much is like when you're pursuing something that is your passion, you're creating, art, whether it be movies, shows, music, podcasts, whatever it may be, anything that's creative, when you start to pursue it as a career and it starts to work out, especially in those fields, I feel like the highs can be really high. Like when something, I don't know, something goes viral, or you get really great news or a good deal, you can feel like euphoric in a sense, like you're riding this really crazy high. But then, and people advertise that, they post about that. But what people don't talk about then too is when you come down from that, because you can't always be riding that high in your, in your body. It's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
So I feel like finding balance in life can be really hard when you're dealing with really heady stuff like that.
Yeah.
What do you do to find balance just practically day to day?
I think honestly that's very interesting how like me coming here and deciding to risk everything and move to the US and like start my career from scratch and like make music in English and everything. Just that helped me find a lot of balance, because over there, I have my audience, and like everything is so crazy. Um, it's much harder to walk in the street, for me. But here, I find myself go to movies alone, and like just like go to maybe touristy places, or stuff like that, stuff that I could never do over there. But it helped me find balance in my own personal life, I think. And I agree with you. Balance, I think, is one. It's another thing that I would say fame helped me like realizing like the importance of. But yeah, for me, it's just like finding time for myself in the middle of like everything else that I'm doing, because there's always like tasks and things that I feel like I have to do, and I'm making this music video now, so like like things needs to be this and that, and I mean there's so many different things that you can do all the time, and it's important to just like the same way that I'm putting in my schedule, an hour with you to talk in the podcast right now, to speak together, then I can put in my schedule an hour to meditate, or an hour to just listen to music and be inspired, because it's very easy to forget, like, to live,
And what do you think the biggest lesson you've learned personally so far has been?
The biggest lesson I've learned personally. Wow. I think I learned more and more to define different things in my life as long-term and short-term, and like how I address certain stuff is like in that way. Like if I, it just helps me be more and more healthy when I look at it that way. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna invest my energy on something because I think this is like not just a short term thing. It's like it's very, very important for the long run. It's like or maybe relationships, for example, are something that I spend time making sure that, you know, everything I'm saying or everything I I do is like very, like I think about everything because I really really care about my relationship with everybody, with my family, with my friends, with my um, team, with everybody. Um, I don't know. There's so many lessons, to be honest. Like so many every day. I feel like I learn something new, and even if not something new, but like some ideas get more and more like sharp, and like I feel like I understand stuff better, um, and to be honest, like you started the podcast saying like it's just the beginning. It's really how I feel. Like I feel like, I mean, yeah, I've experienced so much and I've learned so much, but I don't feel like I know everything. I feel like I'm just here, curious, exploring, seeing like how I can be better. Um, so yeah, I'm still learning, but yeah.
And Mergui, where's the best place that everybody listening can keep up with you and all of your work?
Oh wow, I guess social media. That's where you know, I'll let everybody know when I'm performing too, and when there's a song out. But yeah, social media, all the platforms, DSPs, like from, you know, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, like everywhere, um, and YouTube, and you know, yeah, definitely Instagram, TikTok. I'm all over everything. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to include the links to all of your social media profiles in the episode notes. So anybody who wants to go check out your work can easily do so by clicking below. Mergui, if you could go back in time and offer your younger self one bit of advice right before embarking on your specific journey, what would it be?
Something like stay true to yourself, and you know, and the fact that nobody knows. So it's not like, you know, you just have to do what feels right, and don't try to be somebody that you're not in order to be successful in something. Like, you know how sometimes you try to make something um more successful, so you feel like, oh, I should be this version of myself in order to achieve that, or I should put on this like costume in order to, you know, to make this song more successful or whatever. And I think I've learned like, when you are yourself and you're doing things the way you wanted it to be, even if it doesn't succeed the way you saw, the way you envisioned, it's better because it's a win-win, because you did something that you loved. When it doesn't happen, and you were somebody you're not, then it's a goddamn lose-lose. Because then you're like, oh, you didn't even do what you wanted to do, and it didn't go well, so it's just lost, you know. So for me, if I had to tell, you know, him something, I would say like, just do anything you love, and that's it. And people will always have opinions, and that's fine, and you can be respectful, and and even open to new ideas, but always stay true to what you really love.
Well, Mergui, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was so much fun. I appreciate you coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me. So fun.